I like ladybugs.
How come there's no man bugs?
Yeah, exactly. I feel that way. I'm like, when's Men's History Month? It's not just the 11 months. We need another one.
Yeah. Ladybugs. Wow. What is this? 2020?
2020? I guess that was the most controversial year of people taking a stance.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now I'm starting to feel like, because we talked off mic last time I saw you, I feel like was 2020, but that's not true. I think it was 2022 maybe.
Yeah.
Not recently enough. How often are you even here, I guess is my question.
I'm here a bit, I'd say I go out on the road for like a week or two at a time, and then I come back. Right now, I'm not lucky enough to just go out and do weekends when it comes to road work.
That's the dream.
Full on weeks of being on a cruise ship or going to Vegas.
You do cruise ships?
Yeah.
Okay, I have 1,000 questions. Before we jump into that, I'm going to introduce the tea real fast.
Yeah.
The tea we are drinking is Paru's Lemon Lychee Black Tea. Cheers to y'all.
Salud.
That's nice.
Delish.
Yeah, very lemony.
Very
I like
nice.
it. I'm into it. This is a great tea. For those steeping at home, you steep it boiling. Do it for 3 minutes. That's the dream. Talk to me about the cruise ships. I've never done a cruise ship. I was invited to do a cruise ship when I was at Second City, and I said no.
It's very hard.
Very hard.
It's very hard.
From a comedy perspective or from living?
Both.
Okay.
It's hard from the comedy perspective because not only do you have to perform for the same people for an entire week, you do have to switch up your material. So you're doing 2 long sets that are usually 45 minutes. One has to be clean, one has to be dirty.
One has to be dirty.
Not has to be dirty. One should be dirty.
Okay.
But one has to be clean. But when I first did cruises, I was very bad at it. I was bad at pacing, and I was bad at being comfortable around the same people for a long time, because it's not like any other show. You don't just say hi, goodbye, then never see these people again. Like, you say hi, goodbye, and then you see them at breakfast the next day. And they will either say, hey man, that was great, we loved your show. Or if you bomb, they will look down and walk past you because they don't want to tell you how bad you are. And that happened the first 2 to 3 times when I did cruises, because I wasn't ready and it was really hard. But you have to get through that to get to the other side.
How many have you done?
Probably like 7.
That's
at this point. Probably
that
like
feels like a lot.
7 or 8 contracts. Yeah.
Wait, so you've done 7 or 8 of these. How did you get to the first one?
That is a great question. How did I get to the first one? Oh, okay. I remember. So there used to be a booker. I emailed her. She got me my first contract.
Okay. Do you just cold email the booker?
I believe, yeah. I got the email from somebody else. Okay. I sent in a tape and then did my first contract. Then she moved on to another job. A new booker came in, and then I was kind of in the rotation because I had just gotten in, and the new booker had a roster, and I was lucky enough to already be on there. I did a few contracts, but then I told too dirty of a joke that got me banned for a year.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I had like a 1 year, no cruises for you, which was fine.
I mean, I don't want to make you tell the joke, but can you give me the gist of kind of what it was?
I mean, it's not even that dirty. I like made it up on the spot. I was talking about how I'm doing cruises and I miss my girlfriend and she misses me, but it's okay because I left her a little jar of jizz in the refrigerator. And when she misses me, she just puts some in her mouth. That was it.
That's the whole thing?
I made it up. But then I said, like, I'll call her and I'll be like, hey, honey. And she'll be like, hi, how's it going?
I mean, that's okay.
And
still funny.
It's just a joke, 100% a joke. And I made it up on the spot. It was just like I ran out of material. There was like just something to say.
Sure.
And yeah.
It's so far from the worst thing I've heard.
And then, yeah, me too. And then I got the email from the booker being like, did you say that you put a jar of jizz in the refrigerator for your girlfriend? And I was like, yes, it's a joke. And they're like, no.
You should have been like, yes, it wasn't genuinely I do that. Am I not allowed to be honest?
Am I not supposed to do that? Is that?
Yeah.
I thought I was being a good boyfriend.
I got that tip from the former cruise director.
Right.
You know, sorry team. That's what I thought that's how we all do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy that that's the joke. I thought when you were like, it was like too dirty of a joke, I thought it was going to be something like the end of the second to most recent Marin special where he talks about like Jesus's dick, like, fucking Mike Pence to death. Like, I thought it was going to be something like that.
No, just a jizz joke.
Classic jizz joke.
Yeah.
That's what always does you in. A jizz joke.
Yeah.
That's okay. So doing these cruise ships, that's really interesting to me. So I got offered that cruise ship when I was at Second City, and I didn't want to do it because those are 3-month contracts.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, number one, I had a day job at the time, and I was like, I can't do that. And number two, I was also like, I noticed when people who were doing comedy in Chicago would go to a cruise ship, out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? So that person would come back, and it was harder for them to book because people would be like, I haven't seen you in like 3 months. Like, what would you? Nah, I'm booking. I've got a long list of people I got to book.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, well, you didn't see them for a reason.
I think you got to find it in the right time in your career.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the best way to get 45-minute sets right now is on a ship.
Sure.
It's just easy. There's a full crowd of 300 people and everything's paid for and I get time to practice. Yeah.
I was going to say, what are you doing during the day?
Going to the gym, going to the buffet, writing, tanning, barely talking to guests.
That's the thing. I don't want to
unless they're really cool.
I don't want to be socializing with everybody.
You don't have to.
Also because I think if I were single, I'd be like, hell yeah, but like I'm not.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
neither am I. But yeah, it's like, it's fine. You get by. You have to talk to somebody. You hang out with the other comic on board a lot.
Oh, there's two of you.
There's two of us. I always say it's like we're like Rangers, like we're like a special elite force because we're on the guest manifold, but we're employees. So we stay in a crew cabin, but you're allowed to do everything. Well, not everything. You're allowed to do most of the things that the guests are allowed to do. So we are in this like gray area where employees don't want to hang out with us because we're only here for 2 weeks and we have, guest privileges, and we're technically not allowed to hang out with guests because we're employees. So it puts you in this special little area where it's just you and the other comic, and then you just bond.
Have you made good friends from all these?
Yeah, I mean, tons. Almost every contract, you make a lifelong friend. It's pretty easy because you're on there for 2 weeks with them. You see them every day. You have multiple meals with them if they're a good person.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to make friends. I mean, I learned so much the weeks that I did with Orlando Leba. He's like a great comic.
Was doing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've met Orlando. Yeah.
And I learned so much. And then there's a guy named Mark Vieira who I've learned so much from, and tons of great people.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I always used to think that cruises weren't for me. I've never been on a cruise in my personal life either, just as a guest.
It's fun.
Yeah, they make me nervous. I just like being out on the ocean, in the middle of nowhere on such a massive.
Nothing's gonna happen to you.
But you've never had that fear?
No. And I've been caught in a storm too, and still nothing will happen to you. These ships are huge. They are huge. Huge. Do
you not have? But I guess, and this is a weird question to ask. Are you not really a fearful guy? Like, do you not have fears?
I don't think as a comedian you should be fearful
of anything.
You kind of need to know how to get out of every situation with just using your words.
I mean, I would say that's mostly true for me. But like, if I see last night, okay, this is weirdly recent, but last night we'd come home from dinner. We have 2 cats. We came home from dinner, and these cats, I cannot stress enough, don't do anything. They're completely useless. They are sniffing around an area on the floor where my fiance had dropped her sweatshirt. And they don't do that ever. So I'm like, what could this possibly be? I'm kind of looking around, move something. There is a spider. And when I say a spider, a lot of people listening are like, oh, it's a daddy long legs. No, it was not. It was thick and large.
But not a tarantula.
No, but it was on the way to that size.
Got it.
And I was like, holy mother of God. That instilled the fear of God in me.
Okay.
Can't talk my way out of that.
See, I'm not scared of spiders.
At all.
No.
Are you kidding me right now?
I like spiders.
If you found this spider, what would you have done?
Put it like a cup over it and then taken like a paper towel
Yeah.
and then taken it outside and let it be free.
Right, that's what I did.
You killed it,
I
didn't you?
sure did.
Yeah, of course.
But
Well, the scariest, I'll tell you why I'm not afraid of spiders, because I think I've already gone through the scariest thing that could happen regarding spiders. I was living in Brooklyn,
so nervous.
and a spider was running, and my roommate was like, kill the spider. And I stepped on it. I was like, haha. And it was a mommy spider that had 180 little baby spiders.
We have to give a trigger warning on this
That
episode.
came out, and they all just started covering my foot, and they were like this small. They were the tiniest spiders you've ever seen, and they were just crawling up my foot. I was like, oh my God. And that was the scariest spider thing that's ever happened.
And now you don't care anymore.
Now if I see one spider, I'm like, you better catch some flies. Like, if you're in this apartment, your web better have two, 3 flies.
You may leave it in there.
Oh, yeah. I'll leave a spider in. If it's somewhere that's like far away, that's not going to touch anything, I'll leave a spider in. I'll leave a spider
You're the
around.
most fearless human I've ever met. You don't have a single, like, if I said to you, what's the scariest thing in the world to you right now?
Like, it would be like death or something, or like
okay.
something happening to my dog or my girlfriend or my family. I would say like
Those are good answers.
That's the scariest thing that could happen.
Yeah, those are good answers.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with a friend where I was like, I was talking to them about scary movies. And they're like, you know what would be a great idea? I was like, what? And they're like, if there were a scary movie where people are starting to get killed by their greatest fears. And I was like, I don't know how failure could kill me.
Yeah.
And
one person just gets cut out of the movie. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, my biggest fear is failing to live up to the potential I believe that I have.
yeah.
That's my biggest fear. But spiders are really close.
Well,
Close second.
what do you want out of life? What's your potential leading up to?
I mean, I would say to be the person that you say I did a cruise with him and we became best friends.
Okay.
But no, for real. I mean, I would love to write and star my own television show. That'd be really nice. I think the careers of like Tina Fey, Issa Rae, like those kinds of folks. Bobby Flay.
Issa Rae, Tina
By
Fey,
the
Bobby
Bay,
Flay.
Donald Glover. I think those are kind of careers that I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. What does your family do anything in entertainment?
Absolutely not.
Oh, well, good luck.
Yeah. Well, I don't think all of their families do things in entertainment?
No. But it would help. It would be nice.
Sure. Did your family have anybody who can do things valuable for you?
Absolutely, but not in showbiz.
Not in Hollywood. Yeah.
I think my dad, one time, he told me that when he was my age, he wanted to be an actor.
Oh.
And I think that keeps me going. My dad having this dream of like, he wanted to be a Bollywood star.
Well, that's a hard arena to succeed in. That's a very competitive arena to succeed in.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both difficult and they both have, I mean, it's not like Hollywood's so easy to get into.
No, it's not. But like in Bollywood, I tend to believe, and I may be misunderstanding Bollywood, but I tend to believe if you just have one skill, let's say you're an actor, you can act, but you can't sing, you can't dance, you're out. Yeah. You need to be firing on all cylinders in Bollywood.
But that's what our entertainment used to be. You have to be able to dance, you have to be able to sing, you have to be able to act. I mean, it still helps. Like Ryan Gosling himself, like sang that song at the Oscars.
He is Ken.
Like you have to be multi-talented. You can't just be one thing.
Sure.
You have Conan is like a great guitar player and a great interviewer, and he's funny.
But he's not singing and dancing.
Fallon is, right? Fallon's singing and dancing and also doing comedy. Like all these guys that we like are more than just funny.
Yeah, I think being a multi-hyphenate is useful. I mean, when you were coming into do you sing or dance?
Nope.
No. So when you were coming into this, were you just like, I'm going to take the hardest route? Or you were just like, I want to do comedy so much, I don't care?
Well, I moved to New York to get on SNL. That was the dream when I was 18. It was like, go to New York, get on SNL. So I signed up for all the UCB courses.
Oh, okay.
And I went through 401. And then I applied for advanced study and they didn't let me in. And I was like, that's weird. And so I
also thought that was weird.
Yeah, I was like, this is very weird. I went into improv first.
Yeah.
I started an improv comedy and then...
So did I.
But then the muscle goes away. As soon as you start getting good at stand-up, improv just becomes impossible. Because in improv, you're just doing scene work and scene work. And and working with somebody else, and you're never looking for the joke. You're looking for the truth and the honesty. And then in stand up, it's like the complete opposite. It's like every word better leads you to a better punchline.
I agree. I do tend to believe, and I might be alone on an island in this, I tend to believe that, like, let me frame it another way. I believe the comics I gravitate toward, that I like to listen to, that I like to watch, happen to often be comics who have some background in improv.
Yeah.
I also think that when you see someone who has a background in improv on stage, if they do crowd work, it feels much more organic than if someone who doesn't does crowd work. There was this whole crowd work craze, which I feel like is dying down, but maybe it isn't. And before that craze, I always felt very comfortable talking to audiences. I wasn't doing like so what do you do? But I was always like if I saw someone and like something interesting was happening, I would just have a conversation with them. I'm not picking on them. I'm not like, trying to make it, them the butt of a joke, but I would just talk to them. Mm-hmm. Then when this craze happened, people were like, oh, everybody's doing it. And I was like, yes, but it's so stilted. Like when people are doing this, no one's making honest conversation in these moments. People are just like doing this weird stilted stuff. But if you have an improv or a background, background in improv, background in sketch, background in all that stuff, I feel like it feels natural.
Absolutely. I think also there's some bit of like guessing that becomes fun. You got to sort of become like a psychic if you're doing really good crowd work. You want to be ahead of the question that you're asking. Like you don't want to really ask somebody like what you're doing without thinking you already know what they do. Like if I look at somebody, I want to be like, that person's probably a doctor. So I'll be like, oh, like how many babies have you helped deliver? And I'll be like, are you a doctor? And then they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, yes. All right, cool. I can read a person just based on who they are. And I feel like I do that a lot more now. Somebody gave me terrible advice once when I was doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And they were like, you should just go there and do crowd work. They love crowd work. And so I was like, really? They're like, yeah, you should. And I was like, okay. So I booked a room, went there, started doing crowd work, and it did not pick up. They were like, no, you need a show. You need to have written down like an hour-long performance piece. Like, we do not want you asking where you from, how you doing. And I was like, this was terrible advice.
How long was your run, and how long into it did you course correct?
I did the whole month and did not course correct. It was basically, I didn't have a show. I only had about 15 minutes of material, and the rest of the time I was going to do crowd work. It was bad. It was a bad idea. But I had to do it. You have to get your first one in, and just to be able to get your feet wet and know what is right and what's wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you end up doing Edinburgh again?
Yeah, I've done it 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah. And they've never been good, but they've always had something crazy that's happened at them where I've been like, wow, this place is weird. There's some sort of magical vortex around that city and that festival specifically, where it is a entertainers festival. You learn a lot about yourself. It's grueling. It's 30 days with 1 day off in the middle. So you get basically a 4-week run unless they changed it. And then, yeah, it's like really hard. You do your show almost 30 times. And the British people and the English people, the UK people, whatever, that do it, the ones that know how to do it correctly, it's really fun to watch them murder. It's really fun to watch them just crush it for an hour doing their one-man, one-person show. And then there's us Americans that come by and like, yeah, we just don't have that gear that they have the first time we try it out. They grow up with it so much more than we do. And we're just straight stand-up sometimes, where we lose that performance aspect of it, where they have sound cues, light cues, fun little things that break up the show into different segments. And I think the next time I do it, I will have all of those things. I think I've learned how to have a good show there. And hopefully, if I do it next year, it'll be a success.
I feel like it's a big undertaking, not only creatively, but I also feel like financially, you're going out there. I have a friend who did Edinburgh last year who made his show free. Pay what you want.
Yeah.
So you've done that too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he was making enough to cover that whole trip.
No, I mean, because we have to pay for our flights over. I mean, everybody pays for accommodation and food and all that kind of stuff. But that flight over even puts you in the hole another $1,500.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but if you do it successfully, you can make a lot of money, which is not the end goal, I
No, of
believe,
course.
with Edinburgh. It's about getting your name out and about having a good show and seeing how your material stands up in an international audience, because there are people from everywhere.
So it's funny. So I've done Amsterdam the past 2 years, and I was invited back to do it again this year.
Boom
And
Chicago or something
yeah,
else?
the Boom Chicago Festival, and they're lovely. They're great people over there. I like them a lot. The first time before I got there, I was like thinking about, okay, like I think I'm pretty kosher. Like I think I got all like everything I need to do here. And I got backstage, and there was a guy who had done it the year before, and he goes, "Hey, not trying to scare you right before you're getting on stage, but I would really go through everything in your head one more time. It's not just about references; it's about things. It could be entire topics that seem universal that are not. Really go through it and think about it." And I did. And even though I went on like 30 minutes later, it was still an incredibly valuable exercise. I do an entire 5-minute chunk on when I worked at General Mills.
Nope.
Well, so here's what happened. So I never used to do this in the U.S. I would say General Mills, and everyone would be like, "Ha ha ha!" I go there. I said, "I used to work at General Mills. Does anyone know that company?" Some people murmured, some people didn't. I was like, "Anyone heard of Cheerios?" And everyone starts freaking out. And I go, "That is General Mills." And all of a sudden people are like, "Oh." And now I'm like, "Oh." So as in real time, after I said that, I'm still doing my material. I'm starting to think ahead, and I'm like, there are a bunch of these spots. So I figured it out. Second year, I already knew that. So I felt like, okay, like I got this on lock. A different gentleman who I'm not going to name because he seems like a very nice guy, and I'm sure he's a good comic, gets up there. I think he did 10 minutes or 12 minutes. 7 of those minutes were about WWE. And I'm like, no.
They weren't about it?
No one understood what it was. No one in Amsterdam was watching wrestling. And then he also talked about the challenges of student loan debt.
Which they don't know about either.
Correct.
Yeah. It's not easy. I'm pretty sure it's jumped the shark, but there'll be ebbs and flows, right? It'll come back to it being this artistic thingy, and I'm sure people will be like, it still is, yada yada. But I don't know. I feel like there is something special that happens every time you're there. There's no question about it. Some achievement is unlocked, and I believe that 100%. Like even if you go for a week, just seeing that there's 1,000 shows happening. You could go to any little bar and just see something. It is pretty crazy.
How do you know when you're approaching that? Like, hey, I'm gonna get a good venue and a good location.
Emails. You just email. You email, and then somebody responds, and then that person who responds is the person that you go with. Like I emailed like 5 bookers, and I was like, I'm looking for a room, and then I got one guy, Daryl, who's like, you want to do the cave? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so, actually not the cave, the Tron. And I was like, yeah, I want to do the Tron.
Tron?
Yeah, Doug Stanhope had famously done it the year he went to Edinburgh. So I was like, yeah, sure. And so that's just how it started. And I wish I was better at the time that I did it. I really do. I regret that, but it's one of those easy regrets where it's like, oh, you can fix this in post. You can fix this later. It's like, yeah, people watched your show and you got bad reviews and whatever, but you can figure out how to do it again.
One person shows and stand up. I understand people think those are the same thing, and they're so wildly different in my opinion. Like I'm also a musician, so like I was interjecting like tons of musical stuff. I did like a completely silent scene in the middle of the show, and I was doing storytelling in there. And it was like just like a smorgasbord of weird stuff. That, and that show did decently well, but like that was doing a one-man show. Doing stand-up is so different that if Edinburgh is more looking for the first thing I mentioned as opposed to stand-up, like it becomes a very different beast. As a stand-up, you are going way out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, but it's good to go out of your comfort zone. I think that's why doing cruise ships is an important thing to do, because it's not comfortable. It only makes you stronger. Doing cruise ships only has made me a stronger comic off of ships. Doing Edinburgh has only made me a stronger comic out of Edinburgh. All these things that push you out of your comfort zone are the things that make you better.
Do you ever take major risks?
Every day.
Every day?
I mean, in performances? Yeah, every day. You have to. I see the guys who do the same jokes every week, and I'm like, dude, you got to try something. I don't tell them to their face yet, but I'm like, you need to branch out. You know, this joke works. But I was also of that ilk. You know, I was doing the same material for 10 years before I released the little special. And then after that, I still do some of that material that I have to fill time. But it also was like a fire under my ass. It lit a fire. It was like, you got to go out and write new stuff. So taking risks is super important. You have to.
Well, I think this is as good a time as any to go to the first segment. Are you ready for it?
Ready.
So the first segment is called the Newly Friend Game. It's like the Newlywed Game, but we're friends. You grab your whiteboard. Yeah. And that when you need to erase, you've got a little paper towel right over there.
Great.
So the way this works, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to write down your answer. You're not going to say it out loud. I'm going to write down what I think your answer is. We're going to flip our boards and see if we're right.
Okay.
And then we can do the same thing for me. Now, there are a lot of ways I can go for yours. And I was talking to Dylan about it before you got here. When I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to do for you, I went ahead and I was like, maybe I missed something about you. And I did miss something about you, which is that you had a small role in Argo.
Yeah.
So given that, my question for you, and again, don't say it out loud, write it down. Outside of Argo, what is your favorite Ben Affleck film?
Ooh.
Okay. A lot of options there. 1, 2, 3, flip. I didn't get it. You wrote Good Will Hunting.
Good, like you have a good guess. Will
I got to tell you that. So I guessed Gone Girl.
he? Yeah, good movie.
It's great.
I was thinking The Town was the other one.
Oh,
I like The Town.
I was way off. So Good Will Hunting is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, didn't think you were going to go there.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting. I used to do scenes from that movie in like theater camp.
Did you really?
festivals. Yeah.
Who did you play?
I played Robin Williams, and then somebody else would play Matt Damon, or not Matt. Yeah, Matt Damon, and we would do the scene where Robin Williams like chokes him. He's like, "You ever talk about my wife like that? I will end you." And we were in high school, and I was like, "This is art."
You're like,
This
I
is
know,
cinema.
I know everything that needs to be known to do this role.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that movie. It shocks me that sometimes I meet people who just haven't seen it. And I'm like,
Wow.
You haven't seen Good Will Hunting?
Yeah.
Like, who hurt you?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it.
And you can fix it by watching Good Will Hunting.
Right. You could just fix it by watching it. I literally talked the other day about this scene. I was trying to explain. It was in therapy, believe it or not. I was in therapy talking about Good Will Hunting. I said to them, I was like, the toughest thing in the world for me is when I am feeling emotionally vulnerable and someone responds to that with stoicism. That is like a very hard thing for me to digest. And he was like, I think I understand where you're coming from with that. And I was like, think about Good Will Hunting. This girl breaks down being like, I'm so sorry. I love you. Tell me you don't love me and I'll leave. And he goes, I don't love you. And you're like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that.
But that's not stoicism. That's honesty. Are you saying you?
No, it wasn't honest. He wasn't being honest.
Yeah, he was.
No, he was not. He absolutely loved her. At the end of the movie, he proves it.
Right. By going after her.
Yeah, he wasn't being honest.
But I think in that moment he didn't love her.
I don't agree with that either.
Ooh.
I think in that moment he was trying to push her away.
Because he loved her so much?
Yes. Should we just quit this podcast and rewatch Good Will Hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, honestly, I'm telling you right now, based on this conversation, I think I might go and rewatch it.
Yeah. It's
I don't
not a bad
know.
idea.
Now I'm trying to think. For me, we could do Ben Affleck, but I feel like we've named two great movies. Dare I say it? Should we do the same question for me, but with Matt Damon?
Sure.
That could be fun. I'm trying to think because I don't actually know the answer to that, and I'm not going to name Good Will Hunting, even though I absolutely love it.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting's off the board.
It's off the board. Flip your board on 3. Yeah. Oh,
I wrote The Martian.
He psyched me out. No,
Yeah.
Martian wouldn't be it. I wrote The Bourne Identity. You wrote The Martian. I am forgetting what is a great Damon movie? I'm forgetting because I love Damon. I love movies. I love Matt Damon. I cannot for the life of me think about.
I mean, he's great in Oppenheimer. He's not bad at anything. Ocean's 11. That would have been a good one to put it.
Can I tell you something really interesting? So I loved Ocean's 11 when it came out. I rewatched it again recently. It's a little hectic now.
I've seen it 1 billion times, and
You still love it?
I still love it.
Okay.
Something about a heist. Something about a bunch of dudes working towards a heist.
I love a heist movie.
Yeah.
Give me a heist movie.
The
all
ending
day.
makes no sense. Would it be impossible? There's no way they walk out of there as SWAT team with a bunch of money. But ha ha ha, very funny. And Steven Soderbergh, incredible director.
Are you a big movie guy? You can put your board down, by the way. That's the game.
Yeah. Sorta. I mean, I like movies.
How do you relax?
How do I relax? Music, pot.
Sure. You could do both of those together.
Yeah. I do all the time.
Yeah.
How do I relax? Coffee, to be honest.
There's no fucking way.
Yeah. A good coffee will help me relax. Because pre-coffee, I'm not relaxed because I don't have the caffeine. But if I drink my coffee, I feel pretty relaxed.
Have you had coffee ready today?
I have.
Because you seem very at ease.
I am, yeah. Having a good day. Except I fell yesterday.
Is that the Band-Aid? I saw it earlier.
Yeah, I was moving and I was going up the stairs with a box and then I tripped and I fell face forward. I actually hit my head.
You fell face forward?
Yeah. And I scraped my hand up against the floor and yeah, it was just like rough.
What motivated the move?
Oh, well, I live in a 1-bedroom and
Sure.
my girlfriend and I and the dog, we needed more space. So we moved into a 2-bedroom that's upstairs.
Same building.
Same building.
So, you had lived together in the 1-bedroom, or you're moving in to live together?
We lived together in the 1-bedroom for a few years without the landlord knowing. Shout out. And
I did want to tell you this. So your landlord's a big listener.
Big listener.
Yeah.
I can tell.
We get a lot of reviews from your landlord.
Yeah. And it was just time. Spring came around, and I had this feeling that we were going to be moving, and then this apartment opened up, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm usually like, I try to put like roadblocks up. I'm like, no, we don't need to move. Our apartment's great.
Of course.
And then like yesterday, once all the stuff was in there, I was like, this is the best. This is
Yeah.
so good. This is
huge.
I can't believe I said no to this at first. Like, I was just crazy.
What does your girlfriend do?
She works in fashion. She works
Nice to not have her in comedy.
Yeah. She works in fashion. She's a fabric R&D. So she does like research and development for this brand.
Are there new fabrics coming out that I don't know?
You have no idea, man. There are so many fabrics.
I just know cotton, polyester.
There's like a whole list.
Wool.
There's a whole list.
Okay.
And then textiles and lace and this and that. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
Your parents, you said, don't do anything in the entertainment industry.
No.
How do they feel about your venture into the entertainment industry?
Pretty good. I'm sure they're happy that, I mean, my sister was an entertainer too, but like not in the same sense. Like she was an improviser and then she became a event coordinator, planner, all that kind of stuff. And so much more. She owns her own business and all that kind of stuff. And I think without her, they'd kind of be like, you're just doing comedy. Like, come on. But because she has like a pretty steady job and a family and kids, I kind of get to fly under the radar and try whatever I want. But I'm pretty successful. I'm doing okay for where I'm at.
You seem to be doing well from my vantage
doing okay.
point.
I just have to keep at it, and maybe in like 5 years, something crazy good will happen.
Do you have aspirations of having kids, a family, anything like that?
Sort of, kind of, but like,
Yeah.
it's not even there. Like, I think I swore to comedy. Like every time I think about like what I want to do, I keep saying like comedy is my life. It really is, because it's given me so much, and I just enjoy doing it so much. It's just my favorite thing.
I just feel like, and I say this a lot, every dream needs a sponsor. So it's always kind of like when you're doing comedy, you either need to find a way, because I think something that a lot of people don't realize who don't do comedy is that it takes some creativity at a certain level to make it a money-making effort. You can do boatloads of shows in LA that will pay you $10 petty cash. That's just not enough to live on.
No.
You need to start finding things like cruise ships, like corporate shows.
There's a business to it. Yeah. You have to find people that'll help you make it into a business.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. I mean, did you not find that transition difficult?
Well, I do everything myself. Literally all my booking, all that kind of stuff, all goes through me. I've never had a team. I've never had anyone who's like helps me book stuff. It's all been emails, just straight up emailing people being like, hey, can I do this show? Hey, can I do that show? And then eventually people will reach out and be like, hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, sure. But I've never had an agent or a manager who's been like, we got you this, we got you that.
Sure.
It's just my Monday routine. It's like Mondays, get up, do all the emails that you have to do, check everything that you need to check, buy flights if you got to buy flights, and then move on through the week of writing and doing shows.
Yeah.
That's usually the process. Mondays and Tuesdays are all like office days.
Do you consolidate to one airline?
I try to go Delta as much as possible just because I like their service.
I think everyone who flies, like I fly a lot.
Yeah.
Everyone who flies, I think, can openly acknowledge that domestically,
Yeah.
you're gonna get the best with Delta.
I was on an Alaska flight the other day, and when
they're
I
good
got
too.
to my row, I just like looked down, and one of the panels was being held together by duct tape.
Nope.
And I was like, oh man, it's happening. And it was a 737 MAX 9.
No, it was
And
not.
I was like, man, it's literally the plane that everyone's saying be careful about, and this is being held together by duct tape. And I was like, this is crazy.
I don't know that I would have stayed.
I mean, I'm not going to stay in Costa Rica. I'm getting out of there.
Oh, I love Costa Rica. I assume you were there for fun.
No, I was working.
What?
Yeah, I did a one-nighter in Costa Rica.
It had to have paid well for you to
It
fly
did,
there.
yeah, it did pay well, but it almost didn't pay. So like, I voiced my concerns with the booker a month before. I was like, "You're gonna be able to pay me? Like, you have to pay." He's like, his whole thing was like, "We're doing the first international comedy festival. We're not gonna put your name on the flyer. We just going to be like people like buying tickets. Like, you don't need to advertise. This is totally run through us. Like, it's going to be great." And I was like, okay, you definitely going to pay me this amount? He's like, yes. Like, I'm sending you a contract right now. Sign the contract. And then I bought my flight, and then he reimbursed me for my flight. So I was like, okay, good signs. Get to Costa Rica, and it's a little weird. I keep asking the booker, like, how are ticket sales? He goes, just don't worry about it. Just have fun tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I'm like, why don't you know these things? Like, these are important things for you to know. Like, how many tickets have you sold for this show that's in less than 24 hours? He just had no idea. He was like, that's somebody else's department. I don't worry about that. And I was like, okay, fine. So then the next day rolls around. The venue is set, 250 seats, 50 tickets sold. And it's me and an opener. So he's promised money to 2 people. We do the gig for the 50 people. Great show. So fun. This audience is lively. They're great. Get off stage, and the booker is talking to the owner of the venue, and this very hush, hush, pa, 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 pa. And I was like, oh, it's coming. These guys are going to try and screw us right now. I can feel it. And then me and the other act are waiting in like the lobby of the venue. And then the booker comes in and goes, oof, you guys saw those numbers. It wasn't good. And I was like, listen, dude, you knew this. I was telling you about this for weeks. And he goes, well, I don't know what you want me to do. And I was like, I want you to pay me. I need you to pay me. You have a contract with me. You have to pay me. It says that you have to pay me literally exactly as the show's finished. He goes, all right. You want your money right now? I was like, yes, that is what I'm telling you. I need you to pay me right now. And then finally he like admits that he doesn't have the money. He's like, I don't have the money. Like, whoa. And I was like, well, what do you mean you don't have the money? He goes, I just don't have the money. Like, I was expecting all the money to come in through the ticket sales. And I was like, you didn't plan this out? He's like, no. And I was like, well, you're not leaving me until you pay me. I was like, I need the amount of money that we agreed on, and you're going to give it. And I was filming him the whole time while we were like, he took us to a playground at like midnight. That's where we were standing after the venue had closed down and we had nowhere else to go. We literally sat in a playground for an hour while he was like texting people. And then he took us to an ATM. And he like stood in front of the ATM for 45 minutes. And then he came out and he said he only has $6. And we were like, and I was like so happy that at least there was another comic with me that I just met, but we bonded so hard over this. We're like, yeah, we're lifelong friends now after 48 hours in Costa Rica.
Was this other comic as adamant as you? Like, this is not going to go
Yes
this
and
way?
no. He had mentioned a bunch of times to the booker that he'd gotten screwed over by bookers. So he kept saying stuff like, yeah, this is typical. This happens. And I was just like, no, we are not letting this happen. We are getting our money and we are getting out of here. And so we had a good cop, bad cop type of situation.
Which probably helped you.
Yeah. And this dude, the booker, was a big, strong guy. Like, he was. He could have just punched us in the face and ran away. But, like, I don't know. I think we just scared the life out of him in some way that he was like, I got to pay these guys. And then I saw him get a loan from a guy. Like, I saw the text message where the guy said, like, this amount plus this amount, you owe me this amount now, like, get your life together, all this kind of stuff. Like he didn't know what he was doing. He just thought, I'm gonna put on a show, and he was the opener for the show too.
Of course he was. I knew it.
He went on and did about 10 minutes up front of like old material, but it still was funny, sure. But like it's stuff that you and I have heard 1,000 times from other people.
Yeah, I just lost 140 pounds. I got divorced.
Yeah, stuff like that, but like geared towards him. And
the Costa Rican version of that.
The Costa Rican comedy booker version of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it was just an experience. It was a very, very weird experience, but an experience nonetheless.
Would you ever go back?
Not to work with him, no. Obviously not. I went to Costa Rica once before, and it was great for a wedding. And so that was like the mentality that I went into for this gig. I was like, it's a nice place. You're going to enjoy it. But it was so westernized. I made a joke that it felt like Westworld. It was just like a playground for these like rich white people who like made their own little land. Yeah, it's like the rules there are insane. It's like you can be an American, you can't work at a business, but you can own a business. And it's like, what? They're like, yeah, if you're gonna start a business, you have to own it and you can't work it. You have to have locals work it. I'm like, oh, so you're just like getting around, hiring. I don't know. It was like very stupid. It was all very, very, very weird.
I went on a surf trip to Tamarindo. What a crazy story.
Yeah. Just happened a week ago.
What?
Yeah, that was a week ago. Last Saturday.
Dear God.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like now is as good a time as any to go to the lightning round. Are you ready for it?
Ready.
This is the lightning round. It's 5 fast questions. They don't have to be fast answers. They're the last 5 questions we end every episode with. I use this because, like you, one day I think I could be a late night talk show host, kind of do the thing, little clicks.
Great.
Good. Question 1, what is a favorite ritual of yours? So I love brewing tea in the morning. What would be one of yours?
Before going on stage, I try to get my heart rate down as low as possible.
You try to get it down low?
Try to get it down low. Try to be as calm and as peaceful as possible. I'll close my eyes and do a lot of deep breaths and try to get my heart rate down as low as possible before walking out on stage.
How long do you do that for?
A few minutes if I can.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, as long as I possibly can and focus.
Wow.
And get ready before going on stage.
I feel like that would actually be really useful.
Yeah. It helps me a lot because I don't want to go up on stage with frantic energy. I want to go up on stage like the people out into the audience. I want to be calm.
What I don't do this at every show, but I do this at some shows. What I've started to do, and this is like a COVID nightmare, is when I come
kiss everybody's hand.
I lick everyone's mouths. No, I come out on stage, and what I've started to do to the front row is just like give them high fives down the line. And I did that. I think I might have done that in Amsterdam for the first time, but I did it once because I came out and I just saw the crowd just wasn't in it. And I was like, I'm going to get you into it. Mm-hmm. And I remember doing that. And what's weird is it worked, but it also worked on me where I was like, oh, that kind of put me in the mood. Like, I feel good now. So I started doing that. But I like the deep breaths. I might try that.
Yeah. Like, actually try and get the heart rate down. Like, you can feel it.
Yeah.
Like, really slow it down.
I do that at night when I can't fall asleep. I do 4 square breathing. It's helpful.
Nice.
Question 2, what is a running bit you have with a friend or partner that makes you laugh?
Meredith Casey and I have a bit where I pretend. So we did a show together at Chatterbox, and she crushed. But I went up to her. I was like, "Oof, like that was a really bad set." And then I kept telling people like later, being like, Meredith bombed in front of me. Like it was really bad. And ever since then, we have this running bit where she gets like angry that I say this, and I'd be like, "You should have seen her. Like she was like crying, and she went to the bar, and she like started taking shots, and she was just like, am I ever gonna be funny?" Like, but that's a fun new bit that I've started with her, and I laugh every time, but we do it.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Did you crush that night?
We did well. We both did well.
Oh, yeah.
We
I
both
just
did
had to
great.
ask. I was like, I know she did well.
I was prepping for a set, so I was like getting my gears together, and it was working. So I don't really count it as like that was a great set. It was like that was a workshop set.
Yeah.
In the sense where I was like working towards a bigger goal. But yeah, we both did great. But I just love the bit, and she plays into it really well because she gets angry and then she just like is feisty about it, and it's just a funny one.
No, it's a great one.
Yeah.
Question 3, what is a very controversial opinion that you have?
All right. I saw the movie Madam Web, and I didn't hate it. I didn't watch all of it. I was definitely walking around like going to the bathroom and laundry and cooking and stuff like
Oh,
that.
you saw it at home.
I saw it at home, and I think it was fine. I think it was fine.
Okay.
It
I never saw it, so I'm not coming from any place with that.
People were saying it's the worst cinema movie that's ever existed and yada yada, but I saw it and it was like, it's a movie. It's a Marvel movie. I guess it's a Sony movie. It was what I'm learning too.
It is, yeah.
So it's technically not a Marvel movie, but whatever.
It was not as bad as people say.
It was not as bad as people were making it sound.
Yeah, I mean that's a controversial opinion, but it's one I don't hate. I think that a lot of people throw around like worst blank I've ever blanked, worst movie I've ever seen, worst book I've ever read, worst song I've ever heard. Like people throw that around a lot, and I'm like, I've seen a lot of movies, right? Like a lot of movies. I can say with decent confidence, having not seen Madam Web, that it is not the worst movie I would ever see.
No.
I recently, and this is not the worst movie I ever saw an atrociously bad movie called Clear Mind. It was awful by so many measures. And yet, that was not the worst movie I've ever seen. So when someone says Madam Web's the worst movie I've ever seen, I'm like, that may have the really kind of overinflated expositional dialogue and some weird story points, and maybe it doesn't resolve well and the delivery of the lines is not good. If you think that's all it takes to be the worst movie ever, no, you don't know what's happening.
No, it's a bad movie for sure. Yeah.
Sometimes I love bad movies. You never go out of your way to watch a bad movie? I love a bad horror movie. Can't get enough.
No, I love a good movie.
I like a good movie too.
Like American Fiction was like a good movie. I watched that.
Was a great movie.
I was like, wow, that's a film. Great writing, great acting, great cinematography, pacing. I was like, this is a film. And then like Poor Things, I was like, oh, all right.
Oh, Poor Things was one of my favorite movies. Not of all time, but of the Oscar race movies. Absolutely loved it. I mean, my hot take on the Oscar movies was Oppenheimer was probably number 7 for me of the top 10.
Oppenheimer was very good, though.
Oppenheimer was good. Oppenheimer was also bloated, incredibly long. I didn't have to be half as long, and changed movies twice. Like, it wasn't for me. I think the stunning piece for me is that no one talks about Past Lives as being one of the best nominated films.
I gotta watch
it
again.
was.
I have to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I
just-
want to see Godzilla -1.
I heard it was great.
I can't wait to see it.
Heard it was great. Can I tell you something embarrassing about me? I've never seen a Godzilla movie. Not because I don't want to. It just hasn't happened.
Not even the one that came out in the year 2000?
The one that this is not a
one
good
with
name
Hank
to mention.
Azaria?
I was going to say the one that like Diddy
Yeah.
did the soundtrack for.
Yeah.
I didn't
Why?
see
What
that.
happened to Diddy? Is he okay?
Yeah. I just love that someone, within 3 seconds of like the whole controversy, he became the diddler, and I was like, that makes sense.
He is the diddler.
I know.
Well, he doesn't do the diddling.
No, apparently he has.
Oh, he diddles, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know for
I
sure.
mean, we don't know.
Listen, all this is allegedly. But no, I've never seen a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Here's an embarrassing thing, and then we'll move to the other 2 questions because I know we've been here for a minute. There is do you like hip hop at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There is a song by Pharoah Monch called Simon Says, and it's a great song, and I've loved it for a long time. I listened to a podcast where they were like, oh, I just saw the Godzilla movie. Yo, play the Godzilla sound. And they play it. And I was like, oh my God. I never knew that Pharoah Monch was sampling Godzilla at the beginning of Simon Says. Never knew that. So I hear that song, that sound now, and I just think Simon Says, shut the fuck up. And I hear that in my head. I'm like, wait a minute. That is not what I should be associating.
Yeah. It's Godzilla.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question 4, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, is there one moment that particularly sticks with you?
Okay, yeah. There was one time where I went to Montreal to do the Just for Laughs roast battle.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
And I wasn't competing. I was helping somebody. I was writing for them. And then Brian Moses asked me to help him rewrite the opening bit where he goes up on stage and starts talking. And I said, sure. So then I just kind of re-edited it and then handed it in to a producer. And I was like, wow, I did it. I can't believe that happened. And then I walked away. I go to the green room. It's the rap party. I go up to one of the head writers and I was like, dude, isn't this great? And he just shunned me off. He's like, oh. And he walked away. And I was like, what was that about? And then another guy came up to me and he was like, dude, you really messed up by saying that you turned in your words and you try to change the head writer's like thing, like you really messed up. Like he's so mad at you. And then it just got all personal all of a sudden. And I just like left the party. I like left the party and I started walking around Montreal and I was like, did I really mess up? Like, what was I doing? Did I do something wrong? I like go to this bar and I sit down and I'm like, my head's kind of down and this like random dude next to me is like sitting with his girlfriend. And he looks and goes, hey man, are you okay? And I was like, man, I don't even know what's going on. Like, I think I really messed up. And he's like, oh, yada, yada. We like talked it out. He bought me a drink. He taught me a drinking game. And we just like hung out there for like half an hour. And I was like, oh, this feels good. And then I just like walked back to the hotel and I waited for my buddy that I was helping write. And I just like sat in the lobby and I was like, okay, this feels good. But there was that moment when I was getting yelled at where I was like, what the hell am I being yelled at for? Like, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. And I feel like that might have been a little bit of an imposter syndrome. Like maybe not so much, but I was like, I definitely felt like, I did something wrong. But I don't know. That guy still doesn't talk to me either. Did
Brian use your words?
I don't even remember if he did, to be completely honest. He might have used some of them, but not a lot of them. I don't think he did use... I know it got turned in and they might have changed a thing or two, but nothing crazy. Nothing insane.
Wow, that guy had to have a bit of a... I don't know who this person is, but it feels like a little bit of a fragile ego to feel...
That I stepped on his toes or anything like that. It was nothing personal at all. It's not like I did this just on my own accord. Like, I don't know. That happened and that sucked.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Because it was at the after party.
Yeah, it
was done and it was a success. And then getting yelled at was just like ridiculous.
I mean, I don't want to get yelled at after ever, but certainly not after.
Yeah. Not after it's already finished and it worked.
Yeah.
Like insane.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Question 5, the final question. What is your favorite tea? But I know you're not a big tea drinker, so if not, what is your favorite comfort?
I'll go chai.
Okay. Any particular kind?
Well, chai is like 5 different flavors. It's like cinnamon, cardamom, black tea, right? And
often made with Assam black tea.
Assam black tea, yeah. Like that classic chai is like sugar. That's the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have that every day if I could. They usually have it on the cruise.
Good chai?
Oh, yeah. Really good chai. Like right in the buffet section next to the Indian food. And they make really good chai.
How's the actual Indian food there?
It's delish.
That's the pod. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Thank you for coming, man.
Thanks for letting me spill the tea. Just knock over your cup.
Yeah, I was going to say, please, you can spill the tea theoretically, but please don't.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
That was Omid Singh. You can find him on TikTok and Instagram at Omid Singh. This episode was produced by Dylan Rosenthal. It was edited by Martin Alvarez. Our theme song and additional music are by Oliver Hymack. Our cover art was done by Neil Fraser with photography by Matt Mazisco. Social media by Dia Villegas. Please write a review and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you can. You can send any questions, comments, newly friend game suggestions, or tea suggestions to steepcombos@gmail.com or tweet us at steepconvos. I'm Josh Lanzet, and you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Josh Lanzet. We'll be back next week, so until then, happy steeping.
What do cockroaches do? I'm sure they help with something, right? They got to do something.
You mean like what is the benefit of a cockroach?
What's the benefit of a cockroach? Do they eat garbage?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they don't, do they? Because otherwise we would just put cockroaches.
Then we put them everywhere.
Yeah.